The world holds its breath in the space between stillness and steel. In the silence before the strike, there is no chaos, no noise. There is only presence, focus, and a blade waiting to be called upon. To the modern mind, this may seem like hesitation, but to the samurai, it is mastery. One moment, one strike. That is all it takes to decide victory or death. They did not move with anger. They moved with intent. They did not react. They responded with purpose. Each action was a final act. Each decision sharpened like the edge of their katana. This video is not about combat. It is about the war within, the one between impulse and clarity, between doubt and discipline. You will not be shown how to fight. You will be reminded how to decide, because in the end we are not defined by how fast we move, but by when we choose to move. This is the way of the blade. This is the way of decisive action. In the battlefield of life, the sword is not just a weapon. It is a mirror. To wield it well, a warrior must confront the true enemy: indecision. The samurai did not act out of panic. They trained for years, decades, sometimes a lifetime, so that when the moment came, there would be no hesitation. They knew that in the space between thought and action, doubt could kill. You see, discipline was not about rigidity. It was about refinement, removing the excess, the noise, the fear. Clarity is forged like steel, through fire, pressure, and repetition. And when the mind is clear, action becomes effortless, natural, final. In today's world, chaos surrounds us: notifications, distractions, temptations. And in this fog, we've forgotten how to move with intent. The samurai teaches us this: do not swing blindly at life's problems. Stand still, observe, decide, then strike. Because when the time comes to act, half-hearted effort is betrayal. The decisive moment does not begin with the strike. It begins long before the enemy appears. A samurai's readiness was not forged in the heat of battle. It was built in silence, when no one was watching. In early mornings before the sun rose. In hours of repetition that made motion second nature. In the discipline to master not just the sword, but the self. They trained their breathing. They studied their thoughts. They anticipated scenarios before they occurred. So when the test arrived, there was no need to get ready. They were ready. This is the art of inner preparation. The world today praises reaction. But the samurai knew. Reaction is weakness. Anticipation is strength. You do not prepare at the door of the challenge. You prepare in quiet solitude, when it is easiest to rest, yet you choose to sharpen. There is a phrase: one cut, one kill. But what it truly means is this: if your life depended on a single decision, would you be calm enough to make it? Would your training hold under pressure? Only preparation makes you unshakable. Before a warrior ever faces the blade of another, they must first confront the blade within. The most dangerous opponent is not outside. It is the voice that says, "You're not ready." The shadow of hesitation that appears in the space between thought and action. The samurai trained not just their bodies, but their minds, because when the moment comes, doubt is the first to strike. Fear is natural. But to be owned by fear, that is a choice. A samurai didn't eliminate fear. They transformed it into awareness, into precision, into presence. Hesitation was death, so they drilled decisive movement until it became identity. To master decisive action, you must silence the noise that says, "Wait," that whispers, "What if?" that pulls your strike an inch off center. The warrior's secret: a CT with clean intent, not rushed, not panicked, not clouded, just one motion, One moment, one strike, and whether it fails or succeeds is no longer the measure. The measure is, did you step in fully, with nothing held back? That's what mastery looks like. When the blade is drawn, there is no space for thought. There is only trust. In the heat of the decisive moment, there is no room for second-guessing. No spreadsheet of pros and cons. No whisper of logic weighing options. Just presence, just instinct, just execution. The samurai didn't spend their lives preparing for battle to hesitate when the battle arrived. They practiced so thoroughly, so relentlessly, that when the moment came, they didn't think. They knew. Decisive action is born from preparation, but powered by trust. Trust in your mind, your hands, your timing, and most of all, trust in who you've become through the repetition of discipline. It's not about being fearless, it's about being ready. Because at the moment of truth, you don't rise to your potential, you fall to the level of your training. And if your blade wavers, if your strike is hesitant, then all the hours spent mean nothing. But if you trust, truly trust, then the strike will land, true, clean, and final. A sword that rests too long in its sheath grows dull, so too does the spirit that avoids the discipline of movement. To master decisive action, you must live in motion, not frantic motion, not impulsive motion, but deliberate, focused, clean-cut motion, like the arc of a katana slicing through silence. The samurai were not reactive, they were intentional. They rose with purpose, trained with precision, ate with awareness, walked with presence. Discipline was not an obligation. It was a lifestyle, a path, a spiritual edge. Modern warriors think of action only in grand moments, the big decision, the final fight, the all-in bet. But the true samurai understood it is in the smallest acts that strength is forged. Waking up at first light, honoring your tools, completing the mundane with excellence, refining one's posture even in solitude. This is how steel is tempered. This is how warriors remain sharp, even when no battle is in sight. To act decisively, you must live decisively, not someday, not when the moment demands it, but today, in every breath, in every habit, in every choice. For when the strike is needed, it will not come from thinking. It will come from living like a blade. There comes a moment, a breath in time, when all waiting must end. No more reflection, no more preparation, no more hesitation. Just action. This is the one strike that defines the entire path. The samurai knew this intimately. They trained not just for technique, but for timing, not just for form, but for finality. In battle, there is no second chance, no redo, no apology, only the result, victory or death. This may sound brutal, but in truth, it is liberating. When you have done the inner work, when you have cultivated stillness, mastered your blade, shed the weight of fear, embraced discomfort, and walked the path of discipline, then decision becomes freedom. There is no anxiety in the moment, no noise in the mind, only the body moving with precision, as if the soul itself has drawn the sword. One moment, one strike, one life, fully lived. When you act with totality, there is no regret. Even if you fail with honor, because you did not flinch, you did not betray yourself. You stood where others turned away, and you moved when others froze. This is the samurai way. The art of decisive action is not about always winning. It is about never retreating from your own truth. Strike when the moment calls. Do not blink. Do not wait. Do not wish. Be the sword. Be the silence. Be the strike. Now the silence returns. The blade is sheathed. The path, once hidden, is walked. But something has changed. not the world. You. You no longer wait for the perfect moment. You become the moment. You no longer hesitate. You move with certainty. This is not about war, not about violence. This is about life, about refusing to let your time slip into the hands of doubt. The samurai understood. Every breath is an opportunity to act with honor. Every step is a chance to shape your fate. Every strike a mirror of your soul. Do not waste your life in waiting, in fear, in the opinions of others. Strike, move, be. Because in the end there is no path to power but the one you carve yourself, with one moment and one decisive strike. Walk on, walk sharp, walk as the blade.